What does the believe in God, how does that fit in? What does it mean to believe in God?
Well, okay, so
Jordan Peterson answers the question, what does it mean to believe in God?
What does the believe in God, how does that fit in? What does it mean to believe in God?
Well, okay, so in one of the stories that I cover in We Who Wrestle with God, which I've only recently begun to take apart, say in the last 2 years, is the story of Abraham. And it's a very cool story. And it's also related, by the way, to your question about what makes communism wrong. And Dostoevsky knew this, not precisely the Abraham story, but the same reason. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky made a very telling observation. So he speaks in the voice of a cynical, nihilistic, and bitter bureaucrat who's been a failure, who's talking cynically about the nature of human beings, but also very accurately. And one of the things he points out with regards to modern utopianism is that human beings are very strange creatures, and that if you gave them what the socialist utopians want to give them, so let's say all your needs are taken care of, all your material needs are taken care of, and even indefinitely. Dostoevsky's claim was, well, you don't understand human beings very well, because if you put them in an environment that was that comfortable, they would purposefully go insane just to break it into bits, just so something interesting would happen. Right. And he says it's the human proclivity to curse and complain. And he says this in quite a cynic and caustic manner, but he's pointing to something deep, which is that we're not built for comfort and security. We're not infants. We're not after satiation. So then you might ask, well, what the hell are we after then? That's what the Abraham story addresses. And Abraham is the first true individual in the biblical narrative. So you could think about his story as the archetypal story of the developing individual. So you said, well, what's God? Well, in the Abraham story, God is characterized a lot of different ways in the classic religious texts. Like the Bible is actually a compilation of different characterizations of the divine, with the insistence that they reflect an underlying unity. In the story of Abraham, the divine is the call to adventure. So Abraham has the socialist utopia at hand. He's from a wealthy family, and he has everything he needs. And he actually doesn't do anything until he's in his 70s. Now, hypothetically, people in those times lived much longer. But a voice comes to Abraham, and it tells him something very specific. It says, leave your zone of comfort. Leave your parents, leave your tent, leave your community, leave your tribe, leave your land. Go out into the world. And Abraham thinks, well, why? I've got naked slave girls peeling grapes and feeding them to me. It's like, what do I need an adventure for? And God tells him, and this is the covenant, by the way, part of the covenant that the God of the Israelites makes with his people. It's very, very specific. It's very brilliant. He says, if you follow the voice of adventure, you'll become a blessing to yourself. So that's a good deal, because people generally live at odds with themselves. And he says, God says, that's not all. You'll become a blessing to yourself in a way that furthers your reputation among people, and validly, so that you'll accomplish things that were real and people will know it, and you'll be held high in their esteem, and that will be valid. So that's a pretty good deal, because social people would like to be regarded as of utility and worth by others, and so that's a good deal. And God says, that's not all. You'll establish something of lasting, permanent, and deep value. That's why Abraham becomes the father of nations. And finally, he caps it off, and he says, there's a better element even to it. There's a capstone. You'll do all three of those things in a way that's maximally beneficial to everyone else. And so the divinity in the Abrahamic story is making a claim. He says, first of all, there's a drive that you should attend to. So the spirit of adventure that calls you out of your zone of comfort. Now, if you attend to that and you make the sacrifices necessary to follow that path, then the following benefits will accrue to you. Your life will be a blessing. Everyone will hold you in high esteem. You'll establish something of permanent value, and you'll do it in a way that's maximally beneficial to everyone else. And so think about what this means biologically, or from an engineering standpoint. It means that the instinct to develop that characterizes outward moving children, let's say, or adults, is the same instinct that allows for psychological stability, that allows for movement upward in a social hierarchy, that establishes something iterable, and that does that in a manner that allows everyone else to partake in the same process. Well, that's a good deal. And like, I can't see how it cannot be true, because the alternative hypothesis would be that the spirit that moves you beyond yourself to develop, the spirit of a curious child, let's say, what is that antithetical to your own esteem? Is that antithetical to other people's best interest? Is it not the thing that increases the probability that you'll do something permanent? That's a stupid theory.
So God is a call to adventure with some constraints.
A call to true adventure.
To true adventure.
True adventure. Yeah, and then that's a good observation, because that begs the question, what constitutes the most true adventure? Well, that's not fully fleshed out until, at least from the Christian perspective, let's say, that's not fully fleshed out until the Gospels, because the passion of Christ is you could say, this is the perfectly reasonable way of looking at it, the passion of Christ is the truest adventure of Abraham. That's a terrible thing, because the passion story is a catastrophic tragedy, although it obviously has its redemptive elements. But one of the things that's implied there is that there's no distinction between the true adventure of life and taking on the pathway of maximal responsibility and burden. And I can't see how that cannot be true. Because the counter hypothesis is, well, Lex, the best thing for you to do in your life is to shrink from all challenge and hide, right? To remain infantile, to remain secure, not to ever push yourself beyond your limits, not to take any risks. Well, no one thinks that's true.
So basically, the maximally worthwhile adventure could possibly be highly correlated with the hardest possible available adventure.
The hardest possible available adventure voluntarily undertaken.
Does it have to be
voluntary? It has
voluntary?
to be absolutely.
It's amazing how Jordan Peterson brings truth in such an unconventional way. I mean, I still don't know if he's Christian or not. Like, I really don't know what he believes concerning Jesus, other than he says he believes in Jesus. But I don't know if he believes Jesus is actually coming back to rule and reign on the earth. I would love to ask him that question. But what I do love about what he said there, that belief in God is an actual adventure. That they're both the same thing. Like, you cannot have a belief in God and yet not be on this adventure. It's as if once you believe in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, you now have just embarked on an adventure. Like Bilbo Baggins or Frodo from Lord of the Rings. Your life is now forever changed. I mean, you think about the Pilgrim's Progress, right? I mean, that is the whole thing. He starts to believe in God and now he is on this adventure. He leaves his normal place of life and now he is embarking to the celestial city. I think it's amazing when you think about that, when you begin to tell people about Jesus and you're saying, look, when you believe on Jesus, you will now embark on the greatest adventure of all time. Because that's really what it is. So, I mean, I don't know, like, if he's a Christian or not, but I know he is bringing forth some pretty powerful revelation concerning truth. And Jordan is attracting people to look at God in a different light than maybe how they grew up. And so I agree. It's an adventure. Belief in God is an adventure. They are both one and the same. And once you don't have the adventure, you have to ask the question, do you believe in God? Do you actually have a belief in God? And I guess the answer is no. If you say you're a Christian but are not experiencing adventure with God, then maybe you don't believe in God. Maybe it is only a religious tradition you hold saying you believe in God, but in reality you don't. I believe what he says. I believe what Jordan Peterson says concerning this very topic. Because I know as I have believed in God, he has brought me on many adventures. To go downtown to preach the gospel, to leave Florida to move to Tennessee, to embark on the journey of marriage and having children, to follow his voice and do things like leave your corporate job to start a business called GodSounds when you don't have any clients, to walk by faith and not by sight. My friends, I believe it is an adventure. And that is a great gauge to know how far you are in with God, depending on the aspect of adventure in your life. And let me tell you, it's more than leaving and moving somewhere like Abraham. It's more than becoming a missionary and going to India or China. You can have an adventure where you are right now. in your home, seeking God through his word and through prayer. Telling people on the street about Jesus is an adventure. Starting a social media account so you can proclaim the word of God to people through the internet. It is the most glorious adventure when you truly have faith in God and are allowing him to lead you in the direction of your call. What God is calling you into. Because let me tell you, if you yield yourself to him, he will lead you. It may not be easy. Adventure is not always easy. I mean, watch The Lord of the Rings. Or maybe not. But regardless, you are going to face hardship. You're going to face victory. You're going to face joy and you're going to face sorrow. That is part of the adventure of walking with Jesus. But here's the thing that separates us from everybody else who is on their own adventure. We have the living God who created the very cosmos with us the entire time. The one who knit us together in our mother's womb, the one who's going to make all things right, is with us right now. Through faith in Jesus, we have God with us right now. And that is a powerful encouragement for anybody who is afraid to embark on the adventure. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Trust in Jesus, my friends. He will lead you on this crazy and wild adventure because that's what our calling is. To leave the known, to enter into the unknown with God. I'll see you in the next one. If you've been following me for some time, most of you know I love Jesus and I want everyone to experience Jesus. But what you may not know is I love health hacks because I want to maximize my time on the earth. And one way to do that is to live a super healthy lifestyle. And this is the easiest health hack I've incorporated into my daily life. Red light therapy is about receiving beneficial near-infrared and red light into the cells of your body to promote energy function. It helps to balance your circadian rhythm so you sleep deeper and better throughout the night. That's what I've experienced using this device. My sleep has been transformed because more energy and better sleep means a better life to live for the Lord. I mean, who wants to fight fatigue and be sleepy all day? Check out the link below and get a significant discount on one of these devices from Cyto LED. Everything they do is excellent quality, and I don't plan to use anyone else but them. Use my promo code below and be blessed as you utilize the power of red light therapy for your life.